What's up, Raider Nation? The Bat Fry, Kenny Fry here, and the Silver and Black Nation. We are on the eve of the cuts, the 53-man roster cuts. We're on the eve of that. That happens Tuesday. So let's get right to it. First and foremost, I'm gonna go ahead and do our sponsor read. Excuse me. Today's show is brought to you by our boy Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. You can reach Big Al at 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. He has 3 office locations conveniently located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. His office in New Jersey is located in Cherry Hill on 3 Greensward Lane, and the phone number there is 856-209-5258. And in Pennsylvania, his offices are located in Pittsburgh on 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. The phone number there is 412-365-8151. And in Philadelphia, the offices are located at 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. And the phone number there is 267-888-2980. That's Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. All right, like I said, we're on the eve of roster cuts here for the NFL. So a lot of big stuff. You're gonna have a lot of news for your team, whatever team you follow. You should have a good bit of news coming up, today and definitely tomorrow. I'm not sure exactly when the deadline is to do that, like what the exact time cutoff is. But you'd have to imagine throughout today, tonight, tomorrow morning, afternoon, and then most teams' rosters should be pretty well close to being set. And we'll see what we got going on here, the Silver and Black. I will give you my predictions, what I think. For the most part, it's chalk. Like they say for when you're filling out your bracket for the March Madness tournament in the NCAA. I always go chalk. I never win either, but it's always a safe bet. But most of it's chalk. It's a bunch of no doubters and a couple that I'm not really sure what way the Raiders may go. And I also have a couple thoughts as to what I think they should do. I do have 53 guys written down as to who I think will make the team. And like I said, I'll give you some of my thoughts on that roster after I read that off. Got a couple comments here. Excuse me. We got our boy Michael Papernick. What's up, Mike? I'll tell you what, real quick, not to get off too far off the subject here. My daughter's a Phillies fan, and she's feeling a little bit better after the last couple of days. Phillies offense seemed to be breaking out a little bit, and so she kind of breathed, a sigh of relief a little bit. I told her just hold on to your hat there, little lady. Got a while to go, and the Braves are hot on their tail. So, but she was kind of a little bit relieved that the Phillies were able to start hitting the ball, scoring some runs, and we'll see where it takes them from there. But anyway, I said, so who is the Raiders' starting quarterback? He said the starting quarterback for Week 1 has been named Gardner Minshew, and like we talked about last week. I feel like there's a couple different reasons they went that way. I thought Minshew was outplayed by Aiden O'Connell, but one of the things that Antonio Pierce did stress was his want for a fast start this season. And a lot of times when you have a young quarterback, inexperienced quarterback, you don't get that fast start. You're still kind of feeling through the position, feeling through the speed of the game, feeling through, things that he may never have seen before. So when you're looking for a fast start, usually you go with the veteran type quarterback. And that's one of the reasons why I think they did go with Gardner Minshew, was his veteran presence. Even though Aiden O'Connell did have, 8 starts, whatever it was, 9 starts last season, finished with a winning record as a starting quarterback. And down the stretch, he played very well, took care of the ball and whatnot. Didn't make any spectacular – he did make some spectacular plays, but he did what was asked of him, and that was great. That's what we needed at that point, and he kept us in the playoff hunt for the last quarter of the season until we lost to the Gardner Minshew led Indianapolis Colts. So and the other reason I think this, for me, I think this is the biggest reason why they went with Minshew was his mobility. Aiden O'Connell has zero mobility. He did move up in the pocket a couple times a little bit. You're like, okay, maybe he's going to take off or maybe he's going to roll out, and that'll lead to a cornerback, coming up on him, and then you can hit somebody deep. Didn't happen. And but he had strong arm by AOC. That's what I like about him. I think his arm is stronger than Minshew. He's more accurate than Minshew. But we've seen a couple times Minshew break away out of that pocket, roll left, roll right, make a play, and either with his legs or his arm. The one thing is he's just not very accurate. But I think with our offensive line, with a couple injuries that we have coming out of camp, Colton Miller finally reinstated off the PUP list. So I'm sure he should be probably pretty close to ready for week one. I wouldn't be too shocked if he did start week one. I wouldn't be overly shocked either if he didn't start week one, but did get some playing time. He's been around the block. He knows what he's doing. He's one of the better left tackles in the league. So I trust Colton Miller, but not 100% healthy. And JPJ, the guard / center that they drafted this past season, highly touted offensive lineman, guard / center. He was on the PUP list as well. He was activated off the PUP list about a week and a half ago, whatever it was. And he's still not quite there. So he has to get up to speed. And so I wouldn't expect to see him starting week one, but I wouldn't be overly shocked if he got some reps there week one to kind of get his feet wet because he had no preseason action, live game action. So with that being said, you're looking at Andrews Pete, Cody Whitehair, Thayer Mumford Jr., Cody Whitehair, Thayer Mumford, Andre James, that's the one I couldn't think of his name, and Dylan Parham. So you look at Parham right guard, Mumford right tackle, Andre James center, left tackle to start week one, probably, potentially Andrews Pete and Cody Whitehair at left guard. And so with that offensive line not being great, not being very cohesive, kind of new to each other, it's probably better that you have a mobile quarterback to be able to move around a little bit and stay out of the long situations, like giving up taking that sack on a 2nd and 7, and that turns into 3rd and 15, 3rd and 17. Instead 2nd and 7 rolls out and maybe picks up 3 yards, or he makes a play happen rolling out and with his arm. So you just never know. So that's one of the reasons why I think the biggest reason for me why Antonio Pierce went with Gardner Minshew. That's one of them. I believe. For me, I think that's the biggest reason was the mobility factor. The quick start part of it, I can absolutely see Aiden O'Connell, getting the Raiders off to a quick start. I think he has all the potential in the world to do that. But the mobility part, it's a drive killer. It can be a drive killer. It can be a momentum changer. So we'll see. We'll see Gardner Minshew as the Raiders' starting quarterback, and we'll see how long that goes, how far he takes us. And I'd have to imagine if he has a rocky first quarter of the season, that we'd probably end up seeing Aiden O'Connell around that time, probably around week 3 or 4. Week 4, is the quarter of the season just about. With 17 games, it's before 16 games, easy to work out the quarter. Now it's not. Math. A couple more comments here. Eileen checking in. What's up, Eileen? Thanks for checking out the show. She says, yay, it's morning bat fry. Yes, it is. A little bit late, but better late than never. Mike says, also, I can't remember if the Raiders drafted a quarterback in the draft. They did not. They did not draft it. They were, I don't know if we had got a definitive answer as to which quarterback they were going for. but they were trying to move up, and it just wasn't happening. The kid at LSU that went number 2, whose name escapes me right now, they were high on him, really high on him, because he has a relationship with AP from all the way back in high school. He was his high school coach, he was his college coach, and whatnot, and it just didn't happen. The other Raiders had nothing to really give to move up that far. Especially with the type of quarterback talent that was projected to be in this draft, nobody was really willing to give up that spot. And it's something I talked about a lot around draft time, was that I would not give up. If I believe that one of those quarterbacks, I'm gonna let's say I have a top 5 pick or whatever, and I believe deep down that this is my franchise quarterback for the next 10 to 13, 14, 15 years. You could offer me 5 first-round picks. I'm not taking it. You see how important the quarterback position is, how important it is to have a playmaker and somebody with a good head on their shoulders. And you just see how important it is, somebody to lead your team, your franchise. And there's teams, a la, the Raiders, that have gone decades now, basically, just looking for that guy. And it hasn't happened yet. Thought maybe it might have been Carr, but that didn't go as planned. So, but yeah, they did not draft a quarterback this year, and you'd have to imagine if heaven forbid, if the bottom falls out this season and the Raiders end with a high pick, then they may look at quarterback again. But I don't know, quarterback wise, what we're looking at in this draft besides the Shedeur Sanders, and I'm not sold on the kid. Yeah, he's a great athlete and whatnot, but I'm not sold on anything else. But what the hell do I know? I'm not some sort of scout or whatever. Mike says NFL cut down day is tomorrow, 4 p.m. or 6 p.m. Yeah, I'm not sure what the exact time is, but yes, we're on the eve of the cut down day, where the rosters go from, I think, like 90 down to 53. So a lot of fans are excited for this, so you can see what your team's going to be. And a lot of times you end up with surprises from other teams that get cut, and you start getting a little, itchy fingers, like, oh, let's go get him, or whatever. So that's always exciting as well. Is there any fear in the Raiders organization that Davante Adams might win out if it's a slow start? I don't know if there's any fear. It might be expected, because it's been floated around so much. The Davante Adams trade talks, trade rumors. Davante Adams isn't happy. Davante Adams says he's happy, but he still wants to win. He wants to be a Raider. He likes being a Raider, but he wants to win. So there's a possibility of getting off to a slow start. It's a couple tough games, to kick off the season. Was it the Chargers, the Ravens, Browns, and I can't remember who the 4th game is, but yeah, there's a possibility that could happen. Absolutely. 0-3, 1-4, 2-2. You don't know. And I think a lot of it has to do with competitiveness of the team. If we're going out there and we're losing tough, tight games, and the team's playing good, just playing against better competition, maybe that doesn't bother him as much as if we're going out there and getting shellacked by teams that he believes that we should be handling. So I don't know. It happens. It happens. We get capital in return. I like Davante Adams. I do believe him when he says he wants to stay a Raider. He wants to be a Raider. He loves being a Raider. But stuff like that happens. It's a business. He's looking out for himself, and he wants to win, and he wants to be competitive on a competitive team. And if the Raiders aren't going to be it, I would not be shocked at all if he asked for a trade. Should we have drafted Spentler Rattler? First off, Mike, thanks for checking out the show. Mike Avila, thanks for commenting. Make sure you give us a follow there or subscribe on YouTube, but follow us on X as well, at OOTBox Sports. And Yeah, give us a subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Thumbs up and all that good stuff. Yeah. I thought if we rewind back to the draft, that was one of the things that I said. I said I did think that we were gonna I think it was a mock draft. I don't know which version I had or whatever. But one of my mock drafts, I had the Raiders picking Spencer Rattler later in the rounds, and I really thought that was going to happen. To be 100% honest with you, because you heard his name floated out there a lot heading into the draft. That if the Raiders couldn't move up, that they could be looking to do something later rounds. And Spencer Rattler's name did come up a bit, but again, that there wasn't anybody they liked, and that included Spencer Rattler. I don't know why. I don't remember what round he ended up going in, but I'm pretty sure it was like fourth, fifth, or sixth round, somewhere around there. I don't know what it hurts to spend that draft on a quarterback. I don't know why you wouldn't, just to see what you could find. Maybe you find lightning in a bottle. Hate doing this comparison, but a la Tom Brady. That's what everybody kind of looks at. That's what you're comparing whenever you talk about late round draft picks making a huge impact. You're thinking right away Tom Brady, and that's just an anomaly. Tom Brady is something that may happen once every 20 years, 20 seasons, or whatever. It's somebody that changes the league and comes out of nowhere basically to dominate. The late round pick, it's not your prototypical, number one guy. You could see it coming a mile away that he's going to be your franchise quarterback and he's going to lead you to the promised land. That's the guy that they take. I think it was pick 199. I don't know what round that would have been, fourth or fifth round or whatever. And he turns the league on top of its head. So and everything had to fall into place too for that. But yeah, I did think that they should have drafted Spencer Rattler or some quarterback late in the draft. And like I said, what would have it hurt? It wouldn't have hurt anything. Cut down has to happen by 4 p.m. Eastern time. So there we go. There's an official time for Michael. Thank you, buddy. So yeah, it's exciting. It really is. It's always interesting to see what your team does, and you can kind of get a little bit better idea of like the route they're going to go. So looking at the 53-man roster, what I have of course, Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, and I have Nate Peterman also making the team. The Carter kid, I can't think of his first name right off the top of my head. He had a nice second preseason game against the Cowboys, which would have been his first preseason game, I think. Really nice there, but looking at the 49ers, he kind of saw what he was. He was 9 for 21 and whatnot. But I've heard several podcasters state that the Raiders could go with just two quarterbacks. My first thought was, no way, you need some depth there. Just what happens if Minshew, who's moving around a lot, what happens if he gets hurt? If you're moving around a lot, there's a chance that you're finding your way into some contact somewhere. And then, you go to Aiden O'Connell, well, he's like a statue back there. So there's just too many things that can happen. Now, all of a sudden, you have A.J. Cole playing quarterback or whatever, emergency quarterback. But there's also some new rules in effect by the NFL where on game day, you can bring up a practice squad, I think just quarterback. I don't think it's any position player. I think it's quarterback. And it won't count towards your 53-man roster. So that's interesting to me. But I have three quarterbacks. That's kind of traditional kind of thing there. I don't know. Running backs, I have Zamir White, Alexander Mattison, Amir Abdullah, and I also have Dylan Labe, or Lobby, whatever the hell you want to call him. Also making the running back room. I'm a big fan of Sincere McCormick. I like Sincere McCormick. So I'm kind of on the fence. But it seemed like everybody was really high on Dylan Labe, and he didn't do a whole lot in the preseason. But you heard the coaches talk so highly of him that you kind of want to see him make it. And see if there is something that he can do to bust out and maybe make a big play through special teams or catching the ball out of the backfield or something. So you heard all the great stuff about him. You heard all the positive stuff about him, and you didn't really see it, but you figure, man, it has to be there. If all these coaches seen it and they're talking positively about it, it has to be there, right? Looking at wide receiver, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker. I have DJ Turner making the team. He played very well this preseason. He absolutely earned it. I believe he's your 4 receiver. Christian Wilkinson, he's played well. And then Tyreek McAllister, who you've heard a lot of, especially after that game against the 49ers. He had the big touchdown pass. He also had a punt return, beautiful punt return. I watched that a couple times. I didn't watch the game, the Raiders 49ers game, where I remember what I was doing actually. But just checking out the highlights afterwards. And I rewatched that punt return, I don't know how many times, just watching knife his way through that middle. And like there were guys there to make a tackle. He just ran right by him. And then finally somebody made a block where it took out, I think, 2 or 3 people. And he was off. The dude was gone. He accelerated, and there was smoke flying out of his shoes. So he's exciting. I think he makes the roster as a wide receiver, but you're going to see a lot of him, returning kicks, either kick return or punt return or whatever. So he looks exciting. He seems to be very exciting. Your tight ends, of course, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, Harrison Bryant. This one's kind of interesting too. Brock Bowers, you don't know, like, the foot injury, what's going on with that. I don't know. I don't know what to really. I'm a little bit nervous about Brock Bowers now. Is he really hurt, or is it just a precaution that I don't know. How serious is the foot? So I have Brock, Michael Mayer, Harrison Bryant, and so the reason I bring it up about his foot is, like, do you carry another tight end? Knowing they're going to use tight ends heavy. They're going to use Brock Bowers heavy. They're going to use Michael Mayer heavy. And I thought Harrison Bryant had a decent preseason as well. That was an offseason acquisition the Raiders had from the Browns. So I feel like he had a good preseason. But do you carry 4 tight ends just because they're going to use tight end, a lot of double tight end formation? And if Brock Bowers is hurt, now you're left with 2 tight ends and no backup. So I don't know. It's a tough call there, but I have him with 3 right now, that being Bowers, Mayer, and Bryant. A couple more comments here before I continue to the offensive line. I don't want to get too far behind here. All right. Michael, he says, do we keep 2 quarterbacks or 3? Like I just mentioned, from stuff that I've been hearing with the new rule changes or whatever, with the rostering, where you can have a practice squad. Like I said, I can't remember if it was practice squad player, like for any position, or if it had to be quarterback. And then on game day, you can elevate him to the main roster, but it won't affect your 53-man roster. It won't affect that number. So there is a chance they do go with 2, but I put down 3 anyway, just because that it just feels right for some reason. I don't know why. It doesn't feel right writing Nathan Peterman down. He did play well against the 49ers, but it doesn't feel good putting Nathan Peterman down. I'm sure he's a nice guy, and he's much better at quarterback than I am. He's much better at football than I am, but not as good looking. But that's on him. Nothing I can do about that. Fantasy Football Girl, what's up? Good morning. Thanks for checking out the show. How are your Colts looking? Any big cuts that you think might happen? I'm talking White in a lot of leagues. Should I handcuff Madison? You know what? And so I've seen a couple articles now where it's saying that Zamir White and Alexander Madison are going to share a lot of carries. So it's one of those things. If they're sharing carries, then you're figuring, maybe 10, 12 carries, per guy, maybe less. You figure Amir Abdullah is going to get some looks as well. He's going to get some reps. I don't know about handoffs, but he catches the ball so well out of the backfield that he's going to get the ball sooner or later. So that takes away from Zamir White and Alexander Madison as well. So that's a really tough call. I mean, I thought Zamir White looked good. I thought Alexander Madison looked good. I'm happy with our running backs, and I'm a big Zeus fan. I love Zeus. I can't wait to see him go, and that's why I was hoping that he would be named as your primary back, and we'd be looking at Zeus as a guy that's going to get 17 to 23 carries per game. I just don't know if we're going to get that, especially right away. Because with the Luke Getsy offense, we've been hearing that it's going to be a run-heavy offense, and of course, throughout the preseason, we haven't really seen that as much because with the quarterback competition, you want to see the quarterbacks throw the ball a lot. You want to see what you got, and so you're not really sure exactly what this offense is going to look like, especially with the run game. So I think the first few weeks to start, I wouldn't be surprised if they're really splitting almost 50-50. But then I think after that, I'd like to see Zamir White separate himself a little bit and start taking more of the bulk of the carries through the rest of the season. But fantasy football advice, that's you, girl. That's not. I'm not. I won one season. I won fantasy. Here's my fantasy football prowess. One season I played for many years. I still do, and I won one season, and I didn't even pick the team. It was one of those deals where it was a live draft, and I couldn't make it, and I just kind of all right. I had these positions, through the rounds. I said if you can, pick these positions in this round, best available, and basically that's what I got, and I won. So, and they weren't happy. I was not invited the next year. Said you have to be there. If you're not going to be at the draft, you're not allowed to play. I'm like, I can't be there. We go away that day every year. They'd always do it on Labor Day, so we're never home for Labor Day at that time. So, but I got my name on the plaque. That's all I know. If you look at the plaque for the I think it's the Cole Cracker Fantasy Football League, I'm on there. So I'll take the win. I'll take the dub. Big man Evan, what's up, buddy? Evan's a co-host of the Big Blue Power Hour, talking New York Giants football here on Out of the Box Sports Entertainment. I'll go over the schedule later on and let you know when they will be on next. He says, race you for first picks next. Yeah, hopefully the Raiders aren't that bad. I don't think the Giants will be that bad. You think the Giants will be that bad? I don't know. You watch. Danny Dimes going to have a great year. I still think Danny Dimes could be good. Not great, but I think he would be good. You're paying a lot of money, so you better hope he's good. Raider Paul checking in. What's up, Raider Paul? Thanks for checking out the show. Thank you for commenting. Give us a sub there on YouTube. Follow at an X or Facebook, OOT Box Sports. Raider says, Raiders. Hell yeah. Salute, brother. You too. You as well. Salute to you. Thanks for checking out the show. Throw any comments out there, any of your thoughts. Again, I'm just a fan throwing out opinions, and a lot of my opinions are way off, but what I do. That's why I enjoy doing this. So I enjoy talking about the Raiders and my sports teams, and sometimes some of the stuff I say is a little bit crazy. I'm not sure who my Colts nor Bears cut. I've been focused on fantasy football and Bash in Berlin. Yes, the Bash in Berlin, WWE. We will be live, the Atomic Drop podcast, myself, Cowboy Dave, and we'll see if Adam will be on with us this Friday night, 10:30 p.m. We'll be talking Raw, SmackDown. Bash in Berlin's about a week and a half, 2 weeks away, I guess it is now, right? It's not this upcoming Saturday after at 1 p.m. The Bash in Berlin. Good stuff. All right. Raider Nation for life, absolutely. Yeah, we're always up. I'm and the thing is, Raider Paul, no matter what season it is, every season I go in super positive, and that ain't going to change this year. Every year I go in super positive. Even if I know it's going to be a down year, because as a sports fan, when your team's going to have a down year, you just know. Looking at roster construction and a lot of times you hear a lot of talk about salary cap. It's like, okay, it's going to be a down ass year. I don't believe that this year. But even when the Raiders have had down years that were obvious, that were going to be obvious before the start of the season, I found things to be positive about before the start of the season. Like, all right, this is what I'm going to look forward to. And I mean, there were many, many times where even that was crushed throughout the season, but we'll get them next year. I always say we'll get them next year. As long as we beat the ponies and the Queefs, we're good. Michael says, do you see the Raiders drafting a quarterback in next year's draft or possibly going after Dak or another veteran quarterback next season? Now, if they draft a quarterback next year, you'd have to imagine it'd be pretty high in the draft. There's not, from what I understand, I'm not a huge college football guy, so I don't know what's coming up with the draft class for the quarterback position besides Shedeur Sanders. But from like a couple, other podcasts I listen to, I've heard that there's only like 2 quarterbacks that are going to be worth drafting, maybe in the first round or two. There's throughout college football season, there's always a couple guys that pop up that nobody expected to pop up, and it's like, oh, okay, they worked their way up to a first round draft because quarterback's so important. So you just take that chance on them. And but I have a hard time seeing them draft a quarterback unless it's a late round quarterback just to fill, maybe fill the roster. Kind of, all right, let's see what we can get out of this guy. Maybe there's something there, kind of thing, like I talked about a little bit earlier. But early round, I don't think so. But that's because I think the Raiders are going to have a decent season. I really do. I did my week by week prediction. Actually, when the schedule came out, however long ago that was, and I had the Raiders finishing 10-7. I'm sticking with that. I still believe there's a chance that they could have a double-digit win season, 10-7. Even though the experts are picking them, I think 6 and under 6 or something like that. But yeah, I still think the Raiders could have a very, very good season. There's a lot of talent on this team, and it's just getting these guys in the right position, right spot, and keeping them healthy. So get the ball to our playmakers. That was one of the big things we didn't do last season for one reason or another. Whether there was a poor quarterback play, poor offensive line play, poor play calling, up until McDaniels was fired. And you could point out a whole bunch of different things, but a lot of it came down to offense last season. Defense played spectacular, especially after AP took over. And if the Raiders' offense is a little bit more dynamic last season, who knows? They're definitely a playoff team then, because there's so many games that they lost, by single digits, touchdown or less. And who knows what might have happened last season? Do they push the Chiefs for division last year? Who knows? But yeah, so if they do, it's going to be a late round quarterback, I believe, and it's just one of those, well, it's that 5th round. Let's take this guy and see what he has, kind of thing. And the whole trading for Dak, I don't know. I know that those rumors were swirling around a lot of the offseason. There's a Cowboys show that we have here on Out of the Box Sports Entertainment called Dem 215 Boys. That's on Wednesdays at 9:30 p.m. And I know Cowboy Dave, would always bring it up. I heard the Raiders are really interested in Dak Prescott. I'm like, where are you hearing this from? Like, I didn't see anybody from the Raiders organization come out and say, again, that'd be tampering, but I haven't heard anybody credible saying, the Raiders are looking at the trade for Dak Prescott, or Dak Prescott wants to be a Raider, or whatever. There's mutual interest. I didn't hear any credible names attached to that statement, but it's out there. We did a lot of times where there's smoke, there's fire, right? That's a saying since the beginning of time. And is it a possibility? I guess. I guess it's a possibility. The Cowboys having a hard time re-signing them, and it's going to cost them a crap ton of money. The Raiders do have a decent salary cap. A decent, a sizable salary cap right now. So, is it a possibility? Yeah, I guess it could happen, but I have a hard time seeing that. And like I used to tell Cowboy Dave and say, that's just all speculation. It's all everybody's saying, like throwing darts at a board, basically, or you know, Dak Prescott's not happy, so well, maybe the Raiders are interested. One of the running jokes for me was for seasons, and I guess it still kind of happens, but especially when Al Davis was in charge, when Al was alive and he was running the show, every off season when there was a big named free agent, the same teams were always in on him. It's like all the Steelers are interested, the Patriots are interested, uh, Cowboys, Eagles, all the teams that are near the top of the league, talent wise, are interested in getting better. And then there's always the Raiders, and like, oh, I'm hearing the Raiders are also interested. Like, it was almost like a running joke. Like every single free agent, the Raiders' name was attached to, and that's just because you never knew what Al Davis was going to do. He was the Maverick for a reason, right? So, you never really knew, if he was going to throw a whole bunch of money at like Randy Moss or whatever and bring him into town. It was kind of a surprise. It was a shock, and that's a failed experiment as well. But yeah, it's if I heard it from like a beat writer or somebody that's attached to the organization without being attached to the organization, I would have gave it more credence, I think. So how do you feel not living in Oakland but being a Raider fan and the Raiders moving to Vegas? Uh, so I really like I love the Oakland Raiders. I love the Oakland Raiders, I should say. When I became a Raider fan, it was the Los Angeles Raiders, and it was Los Angeles Raiders. What year did we move? Was it 94, 95, somewhere around there? And I remember I did a report in middle school, and the Raiders were still in Los Angeles, and I did it on the Oakland Raiders and the history. I made a little like video clip for it. Wrote a big essay for it, and it got me an A+, got me 100%, and that was probably the best grade I had all middle school, to be honest with you. That's unfortunate, but true. And it's just I've always been enamored, in love with the Oakland, the idea of the Oakland Raiders. The outcasts, the outlaws, the misfit toys kind of thing. Nobody wants us, so we're gonna kick your ass kind of thing. We party hard, we play hard. It's just, cast of characters, and I just always love that. So when the Raiders went from Los Angeles back to Oakland, I was excited for it. I was super excited for it. One, because I just think it's neat because Oakland's a smaller city, I guess, in California. I'm not sure exactly what the population is, but it's a smaller city. It's a poorer city as well, for everything you read. And something like that to have the Raiders back and kind of, I would assume, give them a little bit of a boost. The Oakland, you had the A's, you had the Raiders, and then you have the Golden State Warriors as well. Well, then, after so many years, Al Davis, he wants that stadium, which, from everything you hear, I've never been to California at all. I live in Pennsylvania, so I'm the furthest from California. But Al wants that new stadium, and everything you hear that the Coliseum was, basically a shithole. I whether that's a fact or not, but that's what you would hear from reporters or other players or whatever, fans. And so an upgrade was necessary, and there were plans for it, and who was going to pay for it, and this and that. Then Al dies, and Mark carries that flag for him. And again, I don't think it was wrong. I think the Raiders needed a new stadium. There was a couple of stadium ideas that were floated out there I thought were pretty interesting, where it was the Raiders and A's would have their own stadium. There'd be a whole, basically a whole other town built around it. It seemed like a really neat complex. And then there was also floated out there the Raiders and A's would have the same share a stadium, but it would you wouldn't have that goofy ass baseball field, football field looking at, which I was never a big fan of that, where you had the football field and right in the middle of it's the baseball fields, like the baseball diamond. It's like, come on, that drove me nuts. But yeah, and the A's weren't going for that. I believe it was the A's kind of poo-pooed that. I could be wrong. But then the Raiders decide, we're going to look elsewhere. You heard, San Antonio, you heard Las Vegas. What else did you hear? There's a couple other places you heard besides that, but I think that the two most that I heard, two cities that I heard the most were San Antonio and Las Vegas. And San Antonio kind of like, that sounds interesting. The San Antonio Raiders. But ultimately, you look at Texas, you got Houston, you got Dallas. That's all they need. Texas is a big ass state, but they're good there. There's no other Texas teams. I almost doubted myself for a second there. But anyway, what I'm getting at here is, it was a necessary move, and I think Las Vegas is a fitting place because you look at Las Vegas and again, outlaws, the Wild Wild West. When I think of Vegas, I think Wild Wild West type of thing. You watch the movie Casino and stuff. Tough people and whatnot. That's not really how it is, anymore. But and so they get that awesome stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. But then you find the downfall, the setback of it is that it's a tourist area. It's a tourist destination. And so what happens is your stadium that you're hoping to sell out with 70,000 silver and black maniacs, you're splitting basically. It's half and half. Watching that the Raiders versus Dallas Cowboys preseason game, it sounded like it was mostly Cowboys fans. Whether or not it was, I don't know, but that's what it sounded like. And then you kind of understand where the Dallas Cowboys were coming from. They're getting a lot of criticism after they built Jerry's World, was that they made it a tourist destination. So whenever you watch a Cowboys game, you hear a lot more of the other fan base there than you would hear the Dallas Cowboys home fans. So that's the downfall of it, but it is a beautiful stadium. I would have rather them stayed in Oakland, figured it out, stayed there. But it's also there's so much politics that go in with it. A city that's already supposedly poor, giving money to a football team for a brand new stadium when you hear education, there's not enough money for the education system, and poor neighborhoods and all that stuff, broken down neighborhoods, a lot of blight and stuff. It's hard to get behind a stadium then, if that makes sense. The Las Vegas, they had the right investors. Mark Davis, got the money, and it was a perfect storm. I can go way back to watching John Matusse. Yeah, the Toos, Sloth, right? From the Goonies. Fred Biletnikoff, Cliff Branch, Ray Guy, Tom Flores, etc. I'm not a Raiders fan, but watching them play as a kid in the later 70s was wild. And you know what? It's funny you say that. There's a lot of people that I know that are a bit older than me. I'm 44. So I was born 1980. So I didn't see any of that. And I didn't become if this is your first time watching a show, I didn't become a Raider fan until in like 91, 92. And maybe 90, 91, 92, somewhere in that area. And when I was 10 years old, 11 years old. And it's mostly because I started playing football. I started getting better at football. And one of my coaches' name was Howie. And then I heard Howie Long. I watched Howie Long play on TV. I fell in love with Howie Long then. Howie's my guy. Howie's my boy. I wore 75 in high school. And, I bleed silver and black now. That's it. That's just how it happened. And, a lot of people are older people older than me, close to 50 or whatever. They always say, I'm not a Raiders fan, but I really loved watching the Raiders from the 70s and early 80s and stuff. And, they start naming all the same guys that you did. And it's just, it really is amazing that that the Raiders carried that kind of weight. It's probably something you'll never see again, to be honest with you. I can't envision somebody coming up to me and saying, well, I'm a I don't know, a Vikings fan. But I really enjoyed watching, the the Patriots for all those years. I just have a hard time, hearing anybody, saying that, uh, you know, about another team at all. But it's just it was just the culture of the Raiders, the bad boy persona. It's like the Stone Cold Steve Austin effect, basically. It was cool to like the bad guy, and the bad guy, the rough and tumble guy, the guy that didn't give a shit, that pick up a handful of mud and throw it in your face, and kick you in the chest. It's stuff like that. Vincent, what's up, Vincent? Thanks for checking out the show. Thank you for commenting. Uh, give us a sub there on YouTube, OOT Box Sports. Give us a follow on X, same handle. If the Raiders do not make the playoffs, they should trade Max Crosby. They would definitely hit the NFL draft jackpot for several years. And you'd piss off a fan base, but and I get where you're coming from. Actually, it's funny you say that. I had an earlier comment from Evan Lauro, the co-host of the Big Blue Power Hour. And that's something he actually said to me last season on one of my shows, the Silver and Black Lair. He said, should the Raiders look at trading Max Crosby to get a huge draft haul? And I said, oh, absolutely not. He's your heart and soul of your team and whatnot. But if the Raiders don't make the playoffs, is that an avenue that they do explore? I mean, sometimes you got to take that huge hit to get better. I mean, I tell you, it would be a huge hit because he's, in my eyes, far and away the best player on the team. You can say Devontae, but Max Crosby is the heart and soul of the team, and he drives that team. He is the bus driver for this team. And so if you have to, fire the bus driver, I mean, the bus ain't going anywhere. But like you said, you could get a hell of a haul for him and, potentially hit, draft jackpot. And that's the thing. You don't see too many teams winning Super Bowls because they're defensive end. But you do see just about every team winning Super Bowls because of their quarterback. And that's what it all comes down to. So it makes me want to throw up even thinking about it. If you had to trade Max Crosby and that meant that you got, your franchise quarterback, you'd almost have to say you'd have to pull that trigger, right? It's tough, man. That is a tough call. It's a really tough call. It's a great comment there. Let me know your thoughts on that. Anybody watching right now, throw your thoughts on that out there. Do you think the Raiders should explore that avenue if this year turns the muck? Mike says, I've been watching football for over almost 50 years, and I was heartbroken as a 12-year-old kid watching my Eagles lose to the Raiders in the 1981 Super Bowl. You were heartbroken, and I was, as the old saying goes, I was still shitting yellow. I was in diapers still, so. But and again, when I did my my report on the on the Raiders, when I was doing the whole Oakland thing, and then I was doing with their Super Bowls and stuff, when they beat the Eagles, when they beat the Vikings, the Eagles, and then the Redskins. That was the team name back then, the Washington Redskins. But yeah, it's a lot of being from Eastern Pennsylvania, a lot of Eagles fans, and I had a lot of kids at my age when I did that report did not know that the Raiders beat the Eagles in a Super Bowl, and so there's a lot of sideways looks then. But it's the Eagles had a great team. I don't remember everybody that's on the team, but of course the big name, Ron Jaworski, and I guess they never even made it back to the Super Bowl with him after that. At least in my memory, anyway. I don't believe they made the Super Bowl after losing that game to the Raiders. I mean, really, Mike, you were 12 years old then, but still, did you think that the next time you would see the Eagles in a Super Bowl was going to be, what was it 24 years later? Was it 2005 when the Raiders or when the Eagles played the Patriots and lost? And then, after that, another, I don't know what year the Eagles won the Super Bowl, another 12, 13 years before they actually made it to another one and won it. I mean, that's tough. And that's what I'm living right now. That's what, as a Raider fan, that's what we're living right now. So the Eagles did have some really good teams in the 80s, though, with Reggie White with that defense and, Randall Cunningham in the 80s, not early 90s, I guess it was, if I remember correctly. My favorite quarterback growing up in the late 70s was Kenny the Snake Stabler. Yes. Hey, you can watch film on that man all day. And it's such a shame that he did not see himself be inducted into the Hall of Fame, that it had to be done after he passed away. I was going to try to say the posthumously, but my mouth is a bit dry. I'm like, that's going to come out really, really bad. So I'm not even going to try it, even though I just did say it. But after he passed away is when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And that's a crime. It really is. It's such a shame. He should have been in the Hall of Fame way before that. I mean, yeah, you look at the stats and it's like, well, they're not great stats. Well, for that time frame, yes, they were. And, just, the amount of, big name plays that he was a part of and comebacks and great teams, winning his team in the 70s and, 60s, but that was more so, I guess, LaMonica. And I think, I'm not sure, I don't remember exactly when Stabler became the quarterback, but, it's all irrelevant, actually. So I thought the Eagles under Buddy would have won us. Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of Eagle fans would have thought that as well. It just, for whatever reason, bad luck. I always think back to the Fog Bowl game. Eagles and Bears. The Eagles, were primed to win that year, if I remember correctly. One of the best teams in the league. Rolled in Chicago. I think I don't know if that was I guess that was a couple years. Was that? Yeah, that was a couple years after the '85 Bears. So they still had a pretty decent defense, I think. But the Eagles were probably the better team. But the Fog, and it's crazy watching the highlights of that game and realizing that they tried to play a football. They did play a football game, but it's hard to say that it was a fair game. Or that was a quality game. Who the hell knows? Nobody saw the damn thing. All of a sudden, you see somebody running across the middle and just a ball going by him. It was absolutely amazing. So yeah. So moving on with the 53-man roster. For the offensive line, of course, Colton Miller. Like I said, I'm not really sure if he'll start week 1. I don't think he will. Just because he just came off the pup. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did, because he's a veteran. He's been around for a while. He's one of the best left tackles in the league. So I wouldn't be overly shocked if he did start, but I would expect almost Andrews Pete there. And then Colton Miller, possibly rotating in just to get his feet wet there for week 2. Thayer Mumford, right tackle. Cody Whitehair, looks like he'll probably start at left guard until JPJ gets is up to speed and ready. Center, of course, Andre James. DJ Glaze, backup right tackle. Like I said, you have JPJ, Jordan Meredith as a reserve offensive lineman. And I believe Thayer Mumford will be your starting right tackle. So that's your offensive line. Defensive line, Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, Malcolm Kuntz, Tyree Wilson, Big John Jenkins, Adam Butler. I do think Matthew Butler makes the team. Byron Young, I was kind of on the fence. I really liked Nesta Jade Silvera. Byron Young was a 3rd-round draft pick last season. Hasn't really lived up to much so far. But I feel like Nesta Jade Silvera has shown spark in a couple of snaps that I've seen him play. But I did put Byron Young on there. But I'd much rather see Nesta Jade Silvera. Mike says, I grew up and lived in Philly for 39 years before I moved to upstate New York, but allegiance is still with your Eagles. Yeah, absolutely. You can't change teams. Absolutely. And so Michael, what is your, like, I'm always curious about this question. What is your thought on having like 2 favorite teams? Like, some people say I have a favorite team from this conference and a favorite team from this conference, or for any sport, the American League, National League. Oh, my favorite team in the American League is this, but my favorite team in the National League. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Are you one of those guys, or what? Now, like for me, for instance, every year, especially for baseball, not so much football, but every year for baseball, there's always one team besides my Mets in the American League that I'll look at I'll kind of follow them and root for them a little bit, see how they do. But I don't have a second favorite team. It's always it's always the Mets, and it will always be the Raiders. There is nobody even close to those teams in my heart there. So, all right. And we got Shitty Productions. There we go. Bo Nix is coming. And you know what? It's funny you say that. I work with a Bronco fan. He's an all right fella, a good dude. That's our boy Guy. If Guy's going to listen to this later on, he said that Bo Nix is the starter for the Broncos, and he seems to be pretty excited about that. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, he has an extra pair of pants, because he's going to be shitting himself. They're Shitty Productions when he has Max Crosby coming from one side, Kuntz coming from the other side. He's going to step up in that pocket. He's going to get smothered by Christian Wilkins. So that's what I see in Bo Nix's future. So, Broncos. And so that's another thing. Like Shitty Productions. Thanks for checking out the show. Actually, to be 100% serious with you, I appreciate the comment. I really do. But that's the one thing I love about sports is everybody has that team that they absolutely hate. You got your team that you love, and there's a team that you just can't stand, that you loathe. And for me, it's the Broncos. I hate the Broncos, and I've been heard on the show, many times saying if the Raiders went 2-15, or it used to be 2-14, but 2-15 now, as long as those 2 wins were against the Broncos, I'd be all right. Which is a lie. That would not be all right. I'd still be pissed off. I'd be disgusted, thoroughly disgusted. But there would still be a little bit of my heart that'd be smiling because it was against the Broncos. I hate the Broncos. Just like for baseball, I'm a Mets fan. I hate the Braves. And the Phillies are a very close second to that hate. And but I really hate the Braves. And for hockey, I'm a LA Kings fan. For hockey, I don't know. Is there? I really hate right now. I really hate the Oilers. I despise the Oilers. Respect Connor McDavid. I hate that douchebag Draisaitl. I hate Draisaitl. Oh my god. If there was one hockey player I'd like to punch in the face, it'd be him. And he'd whoop my ass. I ain't gonna say that I could take him, but I'm not gonna take a cheap shot either. I'm gonna make sure we're squared up and he sees it coming, and hopefully he doesn't move out of the way, and then it's all for nothing. But hopefully I get at least a piece of him, even if I nick him a little bit. I'd be happy. I'd take the beat down. Yeah, hopefully you can't break the streak. But seriously, good luck to the Broncos this year. Just not against the Raiders. There's our boy Foster Covers checking in. What's up, Foster? How you doing, buddy? How are those Bears looking? Hopefully they're looking good. You got a whole new a quarterback, offensive system. I guess, do you have a new coach as well? I don't remember. Thanks for checking out the show, Foster. Everything's going well for me. Just getting ready for bed. The kids are first day of school for the kids. My little guy, first day of kindergarten, 6 years old. My youngest daughter, 11, first day of middle school, 6th grade. And my oldest daughter, 14, first day of high school, freshman year. So it's a banner year in a Fry household here. I think we are gonna surprise teams. Good. That's good. I feel like the NFC, if not the NFL, are much better when you have the teams like the Vikings, Packers, Bears, like those old school teams when they're good and playing good tough football against each other. That brings more views. So I'm I hope the Bears are good. I hope the Bears are good. I hope the Packers are good. I hope the Vikings are good. Because I always enjoyed watching those. It's just like watching Steelers and Ravens. Ravens Titans, Steelers Titans. I always enjoyed watching those games. Good tough football. And that's what you get whenever you'd see a good Bears team against a good Packers team, or Vikings as well. Detroit Lions. They're where they're at right now. Really good, and hopefully the Raiders are following that blueprint a little bit. All right, so looking at the defensive side of the ball, like I said, defensive tackles, I had Max, Christian Wilkins, Malcolm Kuntz, Tyree Wilson, John Jenkins, Adam Butler, Matthew Butler, and like I said, Byron Young, but I'm a big fan of Nesta Jade Silvera, so I'm kind of pulling for him. Linebacker-wise, you have Robert Spillane, Divine Diablo. I'm a Diablo fan, but it seems like a lot of people are down on Divine Diablo. Luke Masterson, I also like Luke Masterson. I like the pretty much the linebacking core. I ain't gonna lie to you. I feel like there's some guys there that are underrated but are very, very scrappy. I dig that. Tommy Eichenberg, I can't wait to see this guy start mixing it up. The rookie, Amari Gainer, and so he kind of came on strong here through the preseason. A lot of people are predicting that he's going to make the 53-man roster. So I'm doing that as well from some of the highlights that I was seeing and the film that I saw, some breakdowns that I seen on YouTube about his play. So I really liked what I saw as well. So I'm going with Amari Gainer. Cornerbacks, this is the tough one here because this is probably going to be the biggest hole on defense. We have Jack Jones, solid. Nate Hobbs, I believe solid. Jacorian Bennett, let's see what we got here. Second year. MJ Devonshire, rookie. DeCamarion Richardson, I have making the team as well. Another rookie. And then Sam Webb, I have potentially making the team. And this is where I could see if the Raiders cut more than 53, we'll end up with like 51 or 52. I believe that they're looking to see who cuts who with all these other teams, because there are cornerback free agents out there. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I feel like Xavier Howard still might be available, but he'd cost you a pretty penny. But the further along you go to the season, it's going to get cheaper and cheaper. But anyway, excuse me. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, okay. I could see the Raiders, picking up a cornerback if somebody releases a cornerback at cuts a cornerback that maybe a salary cap casualty, somebody that's a veteran cornerback that's been around the league for a little while and has played well, and maybe the Raiders go ahead and take a flyer on them because we do have a decent amount of cap space to play with here. So I wouldn't be overly shocked if the Raiders get the roster all the way down to 51, 52 for moves like that. Then that's where I would say instead of going with 3 quarterbacks, you go with 2 quarterbacks, open up that one spot. Perhaps we could see something like that. Free safety, strong safety. Our safeties, I have Trayvon Merrick, Marcus Epps, Isaiah Palomau. Everybody loves Palomau. I love Palomau. Then I have Chris Smith II making the team as well. I feel like he's played decent through the preseason. He hasn't nothing great, but I think well enough to make the roster. And then on an outside shot looking in here, Trey Taylor, I believe was our 7th round draft pick this past season. And then we have our special teams, Cole Carlson and Bobenmeyer. I love our special teams. Freaking Cole just punts the hell out of the ball. What was it? I think it was the first preseason game. It was first or second. We had a 65-yard punt, whatever it was. And I think he had 4 punts, and all 4 were inside the 20. He's already in midseason form. And then, of course, Daniel Carlson, very accurate kicker, one of the better kickers in the league. And our long snapper, Jacob Bobenmeyer. You need the man to get the ball back there, so there he is. All right, so that's what our 53-man roster is looking like, and I'm excited. I'm excited for tomorrow. Hopefully, I'd like if they start making cuts today, kind of start getting to it a little bit here. But yeah, so maybe I might make a little a YouTube short tomorrow over the cuts. I won't go live or anything like that. I don't think. And maybe I'll make a little short and throw it out there as to who the Raiders are keeping, if there was any surprise cuts, and my thoughts on it, my opinions on it. So, all right, I got another comment here before I head out and go to bed. Foster says Bears have excellent depth in defensive backfield, and tomorrow we will release a few players someone's going to snag. Yeah, hopefully, with our ties to the Bears organization, that Luke Getzey might have some thoughts on it, even though he is an offensive type coach. But that's one of the great things when you have first year coaches come in from other teams, that they do have some insight on different organizations, and still fresh in their mind, that you do get that little bit of an inside track. So, all right. See if we have the schedule up here. Is this the correct schedule? That's not that. No. All right. So coming up today, let me pull a schedule up here for Out of the Box Sports. I thought we had an overlay for it, but we do not. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it up on my cellular telephone here so you can read off the schedule. What's coming up on after me here on Out of the Box Sports Entertainment. All right. I need glasses. I got to pick my glasses up. So tonight, 6 p.m., of course, we have the Sully Squad, 4 Philly Sports, talking all Philly sports, Joe and the guys. And 8:30 p.m. tonight, Inside the Octagon with Paul. They'll be talking UFC. Tuesday, 8:30 p.m., Commanders Gridiron. 10:30 p.m., the Part-Time Marks. That's it's our newest show here on Out of the Box Sports Entertainment. They talk WWE and NXT. I don't think they talk AEW. Maybe they do. Wednesdays, 10 a.m., the Batcave. That's when you'll see me live next. I'll be talking New York Mets. 8:05, College Football Frenzy, talking all college football. For week 0 in the books here, so we'll see that. 9:30 p.m., Dem 215 Boys, Dallas Cowboy football talk. Thursday, 6 p.m., the NFL Weekly Pick'em and NFL talk. That's at 6 p.m. on Thursday. Then Friday, 8 p.m., the Big Blue Power Hour, talking New York Giants football. 10:30 p.m., myself and my co-host, Cowboy Dave, and Adam Glenn, talking WWE wrestling. And Saturday, 11 a.m., the Golden Dome returns. The Golden Dome podcast, talking Notre Dame pregame, Notre Dame football, and then Notre Dame postgame will be announced as we get closer to game time as to what time that will be on. But there is a Notre Dame postgame show for those Golden Domers out there looking for some Notre Dame talk. All right. So also coming up soon on the network, we have Monday Night Countdown, Thursday Night Countdown. Of course, that's NFL. In case you missed it, NFL Recap, which I do believe this will be a Monday morning type show where we'll go over all the scores and stuff like that from the Sunday's action in the NFL. Cowboys pre and post game shows hosted by the Dem 215 Boys. And next week, Extra Innings will return. That's talking all Major League Baseball. And I will be back again next week with Silver and Black Lair LA Kings edition, talking hockey. And that's it. So that's all I have for today. I appreciate everybody that checked the show out and commented. A bunch of new commenters out there. Be sure you give us a follow on X. My Twitter handle is right there, SB_Lair_OOTBE. Also, follow Out of the Box Sports on X and on YouTube. It's the same handle for both, OOTBOXSPORTS. That's OOT Box Sports. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. It's much appreciated. We have a lot of great shows here. A lot of great fans. It's we like to have fun. We read every comment, banter. It's all in good fun. And yeah. So all right. So that's all I have. I will be back again next Monday, 10 a.m. Talking Raiders. We'll do our, I guess that'll be time for week 1 preview. Talking Raiders Chargers. And here we go. It's exciting stuff. Football's here, man. That's it. Football is here. I'm ready to rock. Let's go. All right. I'll see you guys Wednesday, 10 a.m., the Bat Cave. If not, Friday night, 10:30 p.m., the Atomic Drop. If not, then next Monday, Silver and Black Lair, Raiders edition, and just win, baby. See you next week.